Okay, we have Morey Hershgordon, a top sportscaster in Rhode Island. You're a sports director for WPRI Channel 12. This is episode 11 of URI Just Getting Started. So having said that, why don't you tell me a little bit about how you got your start and your brief history on how everything went with you, and then we'll go to the PowerPoint slides.
Sure. Well, thanks so much for having me, Scott. I appreciate it. And thanks so much for following along, for our coverage here at WPRI 12, and love college basketball. Was born and bred loving the game. I grew up in Big Five country in Philadelphia. My dad grew up in Syracuse and went to games at Manley Fieldhouse before they even built the Carrier Dome. So grew up around a lot of really intelligent basketball minds, played at a high level in high school. And now get to cover it for a living. So that's the best part. So thanks so much again for having me. How did I get involved in this? Yeah, I think it was just like coming to the realization of, all right, if you're not going to go pro in sports, how do you stay involved in the game? And how do you add your piece to it? And how do you add your mind? And I think, even from the time I was super young, my grandfather, who was blind, and this sort of opens up a can of worms, but just recently passed back in July.
I'm sorry to hear that, Morey.
Yeah, thank you. And I would always go over to his house when I was a young boy, and I would mute the television and I would give him my own play-by-play and my own in-game reports. And that followed from the time I was in elementary school to high school. Then I went to college away from home. My career took me to Wisconsin, even during the Eagles Super Bowl. And I'm a big Philadelphia sports fan, being from right outside the city. Even that night, I get to broadcast him the Eagles' first Super Bowl championship. He's in Philadelphia. I'm in the middle of Wisconsin. He mutes his TV and he turns off his radio, and I'm on the phone giving him play-by-play as I watch the TV. So this is something that I've been wanting to do for, pretty much my entire life. And now to actually be able to do it is it's a dream come true.
Well, just to add a sidebar, I have never been to the Carrier Dome, but I've been to Manley Fieldhouse many times. I was a big Syracuse fan. Don't tell any Rhode Island fans that. But let's go straight to the deck. The point of this show really is we're at a cross point in the season, and we're entering the Atlantic 10. You heard the news today. Rhode Island, Dayton, Thursday night canceled. Maybe LaSalle on Sunday. But we're going into the Atlantic 10 season. I want to really see how they've progressed, Rhode Island, from last year. So I spent a lot of time crunching numbers, and this is really what the PowerPoint is about. And I'd like to get your feedback on some of the things that I've unveiled. So without further ado, let me go right to this PowerPoint. Does that bring back any memories, this picture?
Definitely. This was opening night of this season, if I'm not mistaken. We had such a great show. We're the only TV station in the market that does 15 minutes of sports nightly. We do it six nights a week on our sports wrap. So I had my colleague and friend Bill Koch from the Providence Journal in, and that was a night where URI gets the season started on the right foot against BU. Providence got a win, as well as Brown and Bryant. So all four Division I teams that we cover started the year 1-0. And I was able to have Bill in studio, and we were able to just sort of discuss the night and then also sort of preview the full season and do it all live. And I think to be at a local TV station that values sports and values, the insight that we're able to give our viewers, I think is awesome. So that night definitely began the college basketball season off on the right foot.
Well, I have a lot of respect for Bill Koch too, and I find you guys are both very similar, and he understands Rhode Island basketball, and he reports whether it's good news or bad news. So let's move on with the PowerPoint. And this is there's a lot of great information here, a comparison between 2020 and 2021. So we're better in offense this year, just points per game. We're shooting better. Our foul shooting is a lot better. Rebounds, surprisingly, with such a big front line with the two twins, we're a little down in rebounding. Observations on the difference between the teams this year and last year so far with the stats I have?
Not really from a statistical standpoint. No, I think David Cox and his staff came in with a little bit more of a clear plan this year, especially after the bumps that they took last season. And you could sort of see that from the get go that they have a certain style and a certain brand of basketball that they want to play, and it starts on the defensive end. And for the most part, that's been the case this season.
That's a good segue to the next slide. And I'm saying, you've heard everyone saying depending on the three. Well, with Rhode Island, I really feel like they could do some damage, but it has to be depending on the D. What do you think about their defense so far this year?
Yeah, I think the defense has been, for the most part, pretty good. That's what they've hung their hat on. David Cox said that at the beginning of this year, that it all starts on the defensive end. Last year, you couldn't say that was the case due to some injuries and other things and some different pieces there. But for the most part, this year it's been pretty good. What I like is they have a couple lead guards that are tough on the defensive end. And even though he doesn't start, I think it starts with a guy like Sebastian Thomas. Really can get down and guard people. Can stop penetration into the lane. Ish Leggett, when he guards, he has a much thicker body, Scott, than most guards, and I think that allows him to guard positions 1 through 3 on the floor. And then Jeremy Shepperd and Ish Alameen are still a work in progress. A little thinner guys, guys that definitely, when they want to play defense, can play really good defense, but I wouldn't necessarily say that the consistency is there quite yet. Going into A10 play, it has to be a point of emphasis on a possession by possession basis with those two, because if they can get 4 guards that are bought into the defensive end, like you said, there's really no issues other than foul trouble when it comes to the Mitchell twins and Antwan Walker, because I think that's the best threesome of any big man tandem across the league. You look at it between rebounding and block shots. The proof is in the pudding. They're 6th in the country, as your PowerPoint states, in the nation in block shots. So it starts with the guards. If they limit penetration, it makes it easier on the bigs. If that ball doesn't get into the low block, then the bigs don't have to guard as much. Then they stay out of foul trouble. And then with the Mitchells and Antwan Walker being out of foul trouble, that means they're on the court a little bit more, and that means they can produce on the offensive end. So it starts with the guards, but you have to feel really confident, like you said, when that ball does get into the lane, that even if a shot isn't totally blocked at times, it's still altered in a way where the opposition doesn't feel comfortable taking that shot.
Yes, I'm going to bring in a little wrinkle because, as you know, the Mitchell twins are a great tandem up front. But sometimes when you're guarding the power forward, who is Makhi Mitchell, I believe, it's harder for him to get out and guard the 3 than maybe, say, another player on the team, possibly Antwan Walker. And that's the only wrinkle I see in the defense. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't start the twins, but what do you think about that as far as having both of the twins in the game at the same time, defensive wise? Do you see anything troubling in that area, or is it a good thing?
Yeah, I mean, I'll preface it with this. They're 2 guys. One of them was top 100 coming out of high school, and the other one wasn't too far behind him. And they both started at Maryland, where they began their college careers. And it's tough to ask guys to transfer down a level and then not have them start. Every kid these days, they want to start. Nobody, Scott, looks at it from your generation, even my generation, and I'm a little bit older than these guys, where it's like, all right, the most important playing time is the end of the game. It really shouldn't matter who starts. Kids these days, they like their name, in the starting lineup. They want to run down the line and high five their teammates and do their fancy handshakes. So honestly, I really don't mind them both starting. I think throughout the course of the game, if they're both your 2 best bigs, they should be your bigs that finish the game. But if Antwan Walker has a good game or Malik Martin has a good game, then I think then it starts to get hairy. Okay, maybe Walker is playing towards the end and, you're going with a smaller lineup if you can. So I think, when you ask the question about starting, I think it's fine that they both start. They both set a good, they sort of fortify the middle of the paint. But going forward, I think it all depends on a game-to-game basis. Who's having a hot hand, and I think that just kind of comes down to coaching 101.
Going in there, this field goal percentage is another thing. Last year, our offense was not nearly as strong as it is this year. Now, look at this statistic up here. You've got Walker at 60, almost 65%, and then Makhi Mitchell, who isn't getting as much fanfare as Mikkel, but he's shooting 61% about. So with that, they're really efficient when it comes to scoring this year compared to last year. You see a difference in the two seasons?
Yeah, I would hope that guys like this would be efficient around the rim. They haven't necessarily faced the strongest front court in any of their games so far. BC pretty small, not really athletic. URI much more athletic. You face a Bryant team in the NEC and a BU team from the America East. I mean, these aren't teams that necessarily are used to having strong bigs. You look at the Providence game, and I don't have the numbers in front of me. It was a little tougher around the, and Nate Watson and Noah Horton, Ed Croswell really gave the Mitchell twins and Antwan Walker fits. So sure, those numbers might look good right now. They haven't necessarily played some top front courts other than maybe one game in PC.
Sure.
They've been more athletic, and that's what I expect them to do. I expected them to have sort of these numbers be around the top of the league, considering Antwan Walker was there last year, considering Makhi Mitchell was hurt last year. He's coming off of having, some time to really improve his game and come off that injury and come and start the season strong. But I think this is what they should be doing. It's like in today's day and age, these kids want, they want to be patted on the back when they're just doing their job, right? No, you're supposed to do your job. You're supposed to get credit for maybe when you go above and beyond. You have great games, right? Even in the workplace here, it's like everybody wants to be patted on the back all the time. Well, you signed a contract to come in and do your job, right? You're supposed to do your job every day. You're not supposed to get compliments every single day. So
Yeah.
just sort of making a broader point of, yes, they have to continue what they're doing. They have to continue to make shots when they're down low, near the rim. And that's what you expect when a team is so dominated heavily by their bigs.
Yeah. But I do see a discipline in Coach Cox and their shot selection. They're taking a lot less threes. Probably that's the reason why they're shooting around 50%. Even in the PC game, they were around 50%, which was so I do see it start with the coaching and the decision and the whole attitude this year and reclaiming the culture. But I have a lot of information on these players, starting with Malik Martin. And if you see on the right, 2021, the red is just a dip in from the year before, and the white is an increase. So you're seeing him at almost 8 points a game. But the biggest thing about him is, if you ask me who the best lockdown defender is, it's Malik Martin. And if you have a guy that's killing Rhode Island, that you put him in, he's going to be on that person like white on rice. What do you think of Malik's season so far?
Yeah, I think he's playing pretty well. This is a guy that's improved his offensive game a little bit despite the dip in 3-point percentage. And this is a team first guy. This is a guy that every team needs to have. You'd like to have all 8, all 9 guys like Malik Martin in your rotation, right? Guys that are team first. Doesn't matter if you start, doesn't matter if you come off the bench and only play 3 minutes one game and 30 minutes the next. If you can star in your role and every player just knows his role, then that's when you have 7, 8, 9 pieces come together and you have your best team. So a lot of the times in sports, it's not about having the best 5 players. It's about having the 5 best out on the court that work together. And Malik is an old chip off the block, the term that David Cox uses all the time. And heard on a recent coach's show that he doesn't care. He came to Rhode Island. He transferred to Rhode Island from Charlotte because he wanted to win. And he's ready to fill any role.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. This is a guy, I had him on earlier on the season-ish. He has so much confidence. At one point in the podcast, he told me that he was a better player than his dad. And that's saying a lot, wouldn't you think?
I
considering
would think
who
so.
his dad was. But I like that, and I like that brashness, and he's doing well. My only comment is that I'd like to see him get a little more offensive oriented and go in when you see the zones, have him go in and take that short floater and attack the zone and just get some more shots up. And definitely love to have him at the end of the game because he's shooting. Look at this 90% foul shooting. So that's what I really like Ish, and I think he's going to continue to get better and maybe have a bigger role. What about Ish, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think Ish has been a great addition to this team. He's a guy that's played a lot of college basketball. You look at Sebastian Thomas and Jalen Carey, Alan Beatrand, as well as Ish Leggett, and none of them have played 2 consecutive full seasons in college basketball. So as much potential as those guards have, Ish Alameen is the proof in the pudding. I like the season he's having so far. I think when you look at the shot selection and the total shots he's taken, I think it's a good sign that it hasn't been as much early. I think that's just trying to acclimate yourself to a new team. You know, where are the shots going to come? URI is a heavy favorite in a lot of these out of conference games. Their schedule wasn't the hardest. So you knew that they most likely were going to win these games. So he made the extra pass 2, 3, 4 times a night. But I think now that he's been with the team for 11 games, now that he's been with the team the full summer and out of conference play, I think starting A-10 play, this is a guy that you need to average 12 plus points per game. He did it at Ball State. And now that he's acclimated to the URI program and the style and the flow and his teammates, I think now I'm expecting him to take a major jump. They need him to be really good. If he's really good, I think this URI team can reach its potential. If he's not, if he's passive, if he doesn't want to take the big shot, I think ultimately the ceiling could be a little lower.
Here's your guy, Sebastian Thomas. I know you're not from Rhode Island, but he's bringing in a lot of excitement. The last guy to do what he's doing at Rhode Island was, I'm guessing, Tom Garrick. And I'm not even going to look at his statistics. That's not what he's just proven and battle tested. He played in the biggest arena at the dunk, and he was plus 10, plus 12, whatever. And he's really the team's only true point guard. And when he's in the game, it's just they move just a little better than other times. What's your take on Sebastian?
Yeah, I think he's their best guard, their brightest guard going forward. I think I tweeted that. I don't know if I tweeted that exact thing before the Providence game. I know I tweeted it during. But you could just tell from the minute he stepped on the court. And I first saw him play. So it was the exhibition against Johnson and Wales. I saw him practice a little bit in the summertime when we were allowed in, but he stepped on the court against Johnson and Wales, and he's obviously much better than a Division III player, right? He's at a Division I A-10 program for a reason, playing meaningful minutes as a true freshman. But you could just tell the confidence and the swagger as soon as he stepped on the court. He knew what he should be doing, right? And this is like, okay, you're going to learn the plays, you're going to learn the style, you're going to learn what David Cox and the assistant coaches want you to do. But you step on the court and you can just tell, right? You could tell when Jared Terrell stepped on the court. You could tell when Jeff Doughton stepped on the court. You just have that feeling. And like you said, when he steps on the court, you just feel like URI's in good hands. That's not to excuse some of the mistakes he's made. He's a true freshman. You hope he makes some of those mistakes to learn for the coming years. I just hope that URI continues to play him. Sure, Jalen Carey's coming back. I think Sebastian Thomas's upside is so much higher. Even if Jalen Carey's a better player right now, I just hope it doesn't take away minutes from Sebastian Thomas, because those minutes are going to be valuable his sophomore and junior season. So would never want URI to jeopardize winning over playing somebody for the future. Take care of wins and win in the present for sure to have the best possible season. But you also want to think about the future a little bit. And Sebastian Thomas, hands down, is their best guard because he has an identity. I'm still not sold on Ish Leggett being a point guard versus a combo guard. If he's your shooting guard, can he make shots well enough consistently? He'll break out for 15 points. He'll break out for 20 points. then he'll throw a goose egg in, right? You need a player that's willing to be consistent, that can make a lot of shots, that can be 12, 15 points per game, not up and down. My thing with Sebastian Thomas is the shots will come, but his defense and his vision and his leadership are already so high that's why I'm so high on him as an individual player.
And his quickness and he seems a little brash, maybe not as much as Fat Russell, but I do feel it takes the sting away from losing Fat Russell this year because he has that confidence at such a young age. And now we have Makhi Mitchell. He's coming off a injury-plagued season. I feel like he's not going to be the same player now as he was. He will be maybe in the middle of the season and in the end of the season because of the injury. And I think a lot of people underestimated that. Having said that, look at his numbers. You can't score too many points when your brother's on the team in the front line. There's only one basketball, but he's leading with 60% field goal shooting. He's leading with rebounds. The only thing I would say is that the turnovers from the bigs, and Bill Koch had wrote that in an article recently, it needs to get a little bit lower because I like the high-lows they're doing, but the three types of turnovers, whether it's an offensive foul or putting the ball on the deck or just throwing the ball away is a recipe for disaster in the future. And I think Rhode Island has the talent, and if they could address that, you're going to see a big difference in their play.
Yeah, the thing with Makhi is he gets sped up a little bit. You know, he'll have a block on one end, he'll have a good offensive play, and then he thinks the world is his oyster, right? He gets the ball and he thinks he can go a mile a minute, and he thinks he's out there by himself on the court. I think sometimes he has to just reel it back in a little bit. You know, understand that, you know, if he gets the ball and it's not exactly where he can make a move, dish it back out and reset the offense, reestablish yourself on the post. If he's in transition, get rid of the ball. Don't dribble the ball up the court when you're 6'10" and you don't have handles. Can he cross somebody up? Can he go behind the back? Can he have a spin move and for a dunk? Sure, maybe it can happen once, but far too often, Scott, it's fool's gold. It'll happen once. Oh, he's got the confidence he can do it again. And then it leads to 2 and 3 and 4 turnovers. So with him, it's just continuing to play within himself. He's uber talented and uber athletic and one of the most athletic and talented big men in the conference. What he just has to continue to do is, hey, let me play within myself. And that's the biggest thing with URI is can Makhi Mitchell star in his role? Can Mikal Mitchell? Can Antwan Walker? And so on and so forth down the line. If each player stars in their role, and I know I'm going to sound like a broken record, but it's so true. Well, okay, when you get the best version of each player, I mean, this is a URI team that could go win 15 games in the A10 if they each play within themselves. That's the potential. We haven't necessarily seen it happen, and we haven't seen it happen over the course of 2 and 4 and 5 and 6 games and then really start to stack it. But I think that is the potential, and it starts, you know, with the big men.
And I think 15 wins, maybe 2 or 3 wins in the Atlantic 10 tournament, and they may dance. So, and that's a good number of wins. The Atlantic 10 is a mixed bag. They've had some troubles, but I don't know in recent times where this conference has beaten the teams that they've beaten this year individually. And then we have Jeremy Shepperd. This is what I'm going to say. You see all white here. Everything's up. Another 90% foul shooter. He has some turnovers too. He's doing a little better with that. But I feel like if he breaks out, and I think his last game was a breakout game, then the sky's the limit, and he becomes one of the top Atlantic 10 guards. Rhode Island's going to do very well and definitely have an excellent shot at winning the Atlantic 10 tournament. What do you think about Jeremy?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great that he's your senior point guard. I think his more natural position, he would tell you, is shooting guard.
Yes.
Can he be your backup point guard? I think he can. I really like the combination of Sebastian Thomas with Jeremy Shepperd, and that doesn't necessarily give you great options to guard on the defensive end because Sebastian is a little shorter and both are a little thinner. But I think that gives you your best chance of success on offense is Jeremy catch and shoot, is Jeremy off of a pass, shot fake, one dribble pull up, get to the lane, create for others. He's shown the ability to pass the rock. But I just think the ball in his hands, as much as he's had, I just don't know if maybe that's the best form of success for URI at this point. I think with a little bit more of a pass guard and Sebastian Thomas, then that gives you options. You could go Thomas, then you could go Sheppard, and then you could go El-Amin at the 3. You could go Thomas, you could go Sheppard, you could go Malik Martin at the 3 with the twins at the 4 and the 5, or Antwan Walker with one of them. So yeah, I think Jeremy's more natural position shooting guard. When he has it going on, he's as smooth as anyone in the conference. That's why he was a 3rd-team all preseason conference selection. I just don't know if him continuing to have the ball that much, if he's that type of player, but he's got the potential, and he's definitely been around long enough in college basketball to know what it takes to win.
Well said. We have Antwan Walker here. He's dipped a little. Some people think maybe he's underutilized, and his numbers are down in some areas, but look at the 66% field goal percentage. Look at the threes. I consider him a weapon at the 3, and I have no problem with him shooting the threes at 38% now. I started noticing last year that he does have the talent. He's down in the rebounds, turnovers. What do you think? How do you think Walker's doing, and can he do a little better? And if he does do a little better, what does that say about the team moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, he comes off the bench and he's been URI's most consistent player without a doubt. You could even argue he's been their best player at times. He takes the right shots. I think he has one of the best IQs of any player on the team. And there's a reason he's a 4th-year senior or a 5th-year senior, whatever he is, depending on when he started at Georgetown. He's been around a long time. He was here on that Rhody team, and saw what it took to win a championship. And then he was here on the Rhody team in 19 and 20 when they were right on the doorstep of being an NCAA tournament team with the likes of Cyril Langevin and Jeff Doughton and Fats Russell. So he's seen what it takes to be successful at URI. He's implemented it out on the floor. And yeah, you could argue at times he is underutilized because he takes the right shots. When you mention the 3-point percentage, don't get fooled by the number 38%. This isn't a guy I necessarily would want coming off of screens and pulling up for threes, but 1 or 2 per game in the right spots could be okay. He's on the wing after a shot goes up from the other wing and a big man gets a rebound. And the best 3-pointers, as we know, are rebound on the offensive end, kick out, and a guard or forward who's willing to shoot it and who can shoot it is standing there 10 toes on the ground, squared up. It's just catch and shoot with maybe not even a defender in their face. So 1 or 2 of those per game, great. In the pick and pop, in the pick and roll, not so sure. I don't know if you continue to see his volume go up, you'd see the percentage go up. I think his percentage is high because he's made 1 or 2 per game on such low attempts. And I think if we continue to do that, I think that's great. The majority of the shots, though, I want Antoine taking are the lobs at the rim, right? He's probably the most athletic guy on the team. The windmill dunk comes to mind against Georgia State at the end of the game. And there are so many examples, but he plays above the rim. And if he can catch that ball above the rim, he's 6'8", and a lot of the guys that are 6'5" through 6'8", 6'9" that are guarding him can't get off the floor that much. So if he's within that 6 to 8 foot range, great. He can extend it, which is awesome, but I'd rather him play a little bit closer to the basket.
I hear what you're saying. It's a small sample size, only 11 games. I'm just curious about that. And we're at McKell here, and I just think that last year was such a great advantage for him to play a full season, and Makhi is at a little bit of a disadvantage. But some of these numbers, I mean, we know about his block shots, but look how he turned around his foul shooting percentage. And he's in 3 blocks a game. And the way he blocks shots, he doesn't block shots where the ball goes out of bounds. He has the ball in his hands after he blocks shots. So I like him a lot, and he's just going to keep improving. And I just don't think the other Atlantic 10 teams have the same talent as Rhode Island, and Mikal Mitchell is one of those reasons.
Yeah, you bring up a great point, and it was a blessing in disguise, I think, that Makhi got hurt. Fortunately, it wasn't career ending, and he's back, and he's having a great year now, and he can play alongside of his brother. But when Makhi went down, we really got to see Mikal flourish, and that really gave him great confidence. And sure, that was one of the silver linings last year. Was okay, Rhody wasn't great, and that's not what URI fans are used to, but with Mikal getting the experience and the confidence, boom, when you add Makhi back in the mix, and then you throw other pieces around them, then you can really start to see them flourish. And I think that's what we're seeing this year with Mikal.
And then Ish Leggett, I mean, some of these statistics seem a little off though, but he is up in points per game. Then you're looking at the field goal percentage, and then you go, this could be the same thing you're saying about Antwan Walker. He's at 48%. He doesn't feel like a 48% 3-point shooter this time, but I think he's going to get his act together. And if he does, that's going to be very scary for their opponents. If the potential that he has, if he reaches that by midseason, Rhode Island could be an entirely different team.
I agree. Really high character kid, great person, great get for David Cox's program from the DMV, where David Cox recruits well, and his assistant coaches as well. And with the 3-point percentage, yeah, he's taking the right shots. He's not taking many of them, but he's taking a lot of shots that are open off of offensive rebounds, in transition, wide open on an extra pass. So, I think, will that 3-point percentage stay that high? I think it'll come down, closer to 40% where he was last year. But as long as he continues to shoot the right shots, then I'm fine with his shot selection as well. And 10 points per game, I think, is a nice jump from his freshman year. And he's obviously getting even more time playing close to 3/4 of the game. And that's where he should be, because he should be ready to take over those lead guard minutes next year when Sheppard and Elamine leave, and it'll be the Ish Leggett and Sebastian Thomas show.
Well, Morey, you're always invited on here, and thanks so much for coming today with your great insight.
Yeah, no, Scott, thanks so much for having me again. And that's the best part of my job. I think what's so unique to our market is in New England, everybody's so infatuated with the Boston Pro teams. And don't get me wrong, I was fortunate enough my first year to be able to cover a World Series when the Red Sox won, and then a Super Bowl when they beat the Rams. And then I was in St. Louis when the Bees made that run to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup and lost to the Blues. But college basketball is so unique here to Rhode Island. It's so unique across New England. You really have to go as far as Syracuse to the west to get your next really good program. UConn Shores around the corner. But other than going to New York City, there's really no good college basketball in Massachusetts. Definitely, Vermont's been okay in the mid majors for a while, but they don't have the appeal as, like PC does and like URI does. So to be able to have 4 Division I programs, all on the cusp and all in the conversation of, top of their league every single year in Brown, in Bryant, in PC, in URI. I think that's what makes it so great. And I'm fortunate to be in this market. I think it's one of the best sports markets in the country because we get both the pro and the college game. And for me, like I said off the top of the show, nothing better than college basketball. And being such a short drive to all the programs, anytime I can, I get there for practice, I get there for availability, and that's the best of the job. So hopefully we're back at the Ryan Center soon. Hopefully it's a sold out Ryan Center whenever we get back.
Yeah.
Hopefully fans are still going to be allowed back. Everybody continue to mask up and get vaxxed and get boosted, because we know the struggle that it was last year during the season, right? Games getting canceled and playing in empty gyms and things like that. So really looking forward to continuing to cover this Rhode Island team and see. I mean, they have the potential, they have the team, they have the guys. Can they put it together? Can the coaching staff play the right guys in the right moments and make the right calls? And then it comes down to execution. But that's the best part of it. January 1 is right around the corner. Atlantic 10 play is about to begin, and we'll see what happens. Take care. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
That shit is dead, man. I'm not worried
Yeah.
about that game, man. I mean, we need to do what we need to do for Providence College. How everybody feels about that URI game. It's a good game. It's a great game. Right now, it wasn't in the works for us this year. And I don't know why everybody makes a big deal of it. You know, it's another game. I continue to tell you, and I will say it over and over again. Providence College cares about Providence College. Period. Period. The University of Rhode Island game is that's it. It's just another game on our schedule. But there's a lot bigger fish to fry than the University of Rhode Island. The championship to the Big East does not go through Kingston. It goes through the Big East.